So I have actually been very fascinated and experienced the paranormal from a very young age. In fact, the very first house that my parents were able to afford or buy was 75 years old when they bought it. It was actually the parsonage house for the church that was right across the street, and it's one of the oldest homes in Bald Knob, Arkansas. So my bedroom in the home was one of the original bedrooms. It was actually the nursery, and it had the entrance to the attic in the closet. Well, when I was about 4, I had this friend. His name was Tommy. He was only there in the house. He started coming out, and we started playing. But I noticed that Tommy was a little bit different than how me and my friends were dressing. He had on this white button-down collared shirt. He had on these brown pants. He had on these knee socks. And he had on these little black, Mary Jane-looking shoes. I noticed that whenever I started getting older, that Tommy stayed the exact same age. He stayed 4 years old. He didn't grow. Then, years later, my father actually did research on the house. So there was the pastor and his wife, and they had children there in the house during the 20s. They lost one of their children to the flu. His name is Tommy, or Thomas, but went by Tommy. So that was a good validation for me. My father knew that I had what my mother and her side of the family called the witchy sense, because my mother experiences this, so does her mother as well. And so I've always been fascinated with the paranormal. I've always loved going to any of these places that we could, any old hotels, old buildings. In fact, one of my favorite places to play at when I was little was the old Pioneer Cemetery in downtown Batesville that was right down the street from my grandmother's law office. And so that was just one of my favorite places to play in because I always felt at peace. I always felt comfortable in it. I know, really odd, but here we are. So I absolutely love that. And when I got the chance to join Chris and Michelle and Blake in these investigations, I was absolutely thrilled because I haven't been doing the paranormal investigations since my college days, which we had a small little group, but we never could get to do it a lot because, classes, courses, those sorts of things. So it's always fascinated me. I've always loved it. I've loved a good ghost story as well. So different investigations, ones that stand out to me the most was probably the Malco Theater. Just that history alone with it. We ended up getting there at the investigation, and one of my telltale signs that I have, or that I've come to figure out over the years, is that whenever a place is going to be active, my head will start hurting. And it will be a slow throb at first, and then if it gets more active, it's really going to come full force. And so we were even standing on the sidewalk, and my head started hurting. I was just like, okay, this is going to be a good investigation. We get into the theater, start, getting our equipment ready, start, getting a game plan, waiting on, our tour of the building. And then I kept looking to my left and down the hallway of the Malco, of the theater itself. And I noticed that at the bottom of the hallway, there was this ramp going towards the older part of the theater. I saw this man. He was dressed in a formal tuxedo, black and white, tall. He had the slick back 20s hairstyle. I saw him clear as day. Well, we decided to do the tour, and we went over to the hotel part. And a group had gone up to the stairs, up to the roof, whereas with me and Blake and another cameraman as well, we decided to stay there in the hallway. We decided to go dark, which means turning off all of the electronics, all the lights, just so we could get a feel to see if we could hear anything, because it helps to heighten the senses. Well, we do, and literally right in between me and Blake, we hear talking, clear as day, very loud, very audible. We didn't know what it was saying at first. We thought that it was saying, it's a man, it's a man, it's a man. However, it was saying, Samantha, Samantha, Samantha. Clear as day. And so with that, I started getting more activity. I kept seeing the man again, but he wanted us to go over to the theater, especially to the old auditorium part. And me and Blake and a few others, we did, and we actually did get quite a bit of activity in there with devices going off. We did the candle test, which you can light a candle and the flame itself can be a pendulum, so to speak, where you can ask it yes or no questions and it can move the flame in one direction or the other to let you know. And so we did that, and it was just probably one of my favorite investigations that we've done to date.